welcome to Center for Victory's podcast of Your Best Day Yet. Here at Center for Victory, we're here to unlock, reinforce, and enrich relationships through personal and professional development. I am Eric Guy, Chief Victory Officer here at the Center for Victory. Today, we have a very unique guest, Mr. Neil Rogers. I'm going to give you the bio, and you can talk a little bit more about yourself because I feel like you're going to have a lot to say, Neil, to our audience, those listening and watching. But let me just give you a little bit of background on Neil before we jump in here with him. So for over 3 decades, Neil Rogers has built a successful career in sales and marketing, working with clients in a wide range of verticals, including pharmaceutical, biomedical, manufacturing, logistics, financial service, and government defense contractors. He is the owner and VP of Marketing and Sales at Rogers Marketing, winner of several multi-million-dollar sales awards, the Velocity Award for Growth, and the Heavy Hitter Awards for large accounts. Neil and his wife are the creators and owners of the Positive Activity Process, using scientifically proven activities to increase the quality of life and business through creativity, optimism, and positivity. The two of them started the nonprofit PACE, which I want to ask you about when we get there, Neil. After 21 and PACE after 21 for special needs adults. So I want to talk about that as well. His book, Bar Tips, is his first published book, drawing on lessons learned during his years as a bartender that Neil has applied for success in sales. So with that, Neil, welcome aboard. Is there anything else that you wanted to say to our audience before we jump in here?
Welcome, everybody. I think it's going to be your best day yet.
I love it. So the book, Neil, Bar Tips, one of the things, you came into the world of sales through the service industry, right? So as a bartender. So
Correct.
Tell us about that journey. How did you get from there to here? Because that's, we're all my audience were, I always say I'm in the transportation company, transportation business. I help people get to where they're at, to where they want to go. So tell us how you've gotten there.
So for all you middle of the road students thinking you may not have any worth in this world, you don't know where you're going, let me tell you, you can find your way just by using some innate skills that you'll find if you look deep enough. It basically started in I graduated high school at 17 years old. Really, no plans for the future. Tried the school thing at the last minute, the 11th hour, community college, took a swing and a miss. It was high school all over again. I didn't really have the passion or the drive or where am I going? And so just kind of fizzled out. And all the while I've been working in the hospitality business. And so, back of the house stuff to start, washing dishes, making sandwiches, breakfast, then bus boying, so you get a little bit out in front. And then I started bar backing on Friday and Saturday nights, and watched the bartenders, and I went, now that looks pretty cool. I think I want to do that. But that was my criteria for the job, though. That was the reason why. It wasn't because it was some career path and whatnot. It was like, hey, that looked pretty cool. I want to do that. So I set my sights up. So with my self-esteem a little low, right? I mentioned high school wasn't all that great. Was not a very good student. I say that my combined SAT scores and my class rank had one thing in common. They were both in the triple digits. And so anyways, I set my sights. Now I've gone through the bar backing thing. I've decided I'm going to get a bar job. I set my sights on it and I got it. And again, with self-esteem being low, this was a win. Right. So I said whatever process I went through. I mean, I just knew who the guy was. I knew him from my past. He was friendly with my brother. He and I have become great friends. He's acknowledged in the book. And so he finally brought me on. It started me on the door. And so I was back doing bar backing stuff and checking IDs and that type of thing. But then the day bartender left and he says, you want the job? I said, absolutely. So here I am. I've scored. I set out to do something. I did. Imagine that. And so I poured my first drink, put it down in front of the customer, took a sip out of it, because you know what? That's really good. So, whoa. So almost immediately, I liked that feedback I got of serving somebody.
Uh-huh.
They came in to shake something off. I poured them a drink. I gave them positive banter, nice banter, made it a positive experience. They had a great time. So I just kept on parlaying that into, meeting introducing people, and hey, you guys should meet. Have you ever played a game of darts? Let's play some darts. Just simple stuff. I mean, it's just being nice and being hospitable, right? So I decided, okay, so this is my path. Maybe I'll go in a hotel restaurant school. Second swing and a miss, right? And I think I don't, I think you can call it lack of focus. Let's just put it all in one big pile, right? And so, anyways, I also decided that this wasn't going to be my life's work. For whatever reason, I knew that I just wasn't going to do this job for the rest of my life, but I still had no idea what I was going to do. So all these people that I befriended and I had started to serve said, Neil, with your interpersonal skills, you'd be good in sales. Oh, really? And then I started talking to people that were in sales. They're talking about the money they made and the freedom they had and how much fun it was. I said, boy, that all sounds pretty good to me. So I set my sights out for a sales job. Now I've got to get this degree, though. Back then, you weren't. Even now, I think some sales jobs you could probably get without a college degree. But if you get into a company, they're going to want to see some sort of sheepskin. So I set out with a process, or in today's parlance, an algorithm. And the algorithm was to get better at school. There's a formula. I don't know if you guys know this. Number one, they like you to show up. Who knew? Actively listen. 2. 3, take notes. 4, if they write a phone number on the board or they put an office hour out there, use it. 5, do the extra work. And always raise a hand and ask a question in class and answer a question. So, and I went from a twice flunked out student to a 3.85 student.
Wow.
That was my first real big win. I continued to go to bigger bars and, more high volume bars. And I worked in one of the highest volume bars in Boston for 3 or 4 years, and then moved across the park when I started my straight jobs, and work weekends because if you're starting out in commission sales, you're not making any money. So I make 10 times more money on the weekend pouring drinks than I made during the week. But I knew, once again, I didn't want to work weekends the rest of my life, and I didn't want to be a bartender. And by the way, I find it a noble profession, and my hat still goes off to the good ones.
You're right.
The ones that mail it in, I'm a little offended by it. I'm not going to lie. So that's kind of how it all started. And then I went out and I started my first sales job, and that was selling food from from wholesale to restaurants and hotels and that type of thing. And it was a grindy type job. I'd make 20 physical calls before 10 o'clock on a Monday morning. It's route-like sales. You're in, you're out. You get 2 seconds with somebody, and a chef wants nothing to do with the new guy. I'm just telling you right now. So you better be prepared.
Well, what was doing all that? What was one of the biggest lessons you learned from working that has served you in business?
From working behind the bar?
Behind the bar, yeah.
Well, all the things that I talk about, really, in a lot of it was done in retrospect. I think you have to start with the opener, the importance of a proper greeting. How are you greeting people, right? Are you in the bar business? Do you put the cocktail napkin down? Do you look them in the eye? Shake hands if possible. Greet them. Hello, how are you? Where have you been? Where are you going? Where you're from? Simple things. Just start the relationship going. And then if you want to take the relationship to another level, so we're really trying, if this is going to be a regular or whatnot, what are your listening skills like? Are you back to the whole school thing? I say actively listening. not just daydreaming while somebody's while they're talking, but listening intently. Lean in where appropriate. Nod, so they know you're engaged with them. And do not, folks, do not be sitting there with your story to jump all over them. Let them go. Dale Carnegie will tell you, let them talk about themselves. Just
Yes.
go. And certainly do not one better. Now, do we all know what a one better is? Yeah. Stay away from the obese. This is a no obese.
Very good advice.
Yeah.
No obese. I like it. All right. You have won a number of sales awards over the years, Neil. What do you consider your secret sauce for success? I think we might have heard a little bit about it, but
well, it's for its process, its consistency. It's all of the things, but I mean, if you had to boil it down to one, because the process can include all the pieces of the pie that are in the book. But how you greet, how you organized, do you show up on time? Please, folks, stop with the excuses. Now, if you're out there and you're the person that is occasionally has got a problem, that's okay. Everybody gets grace. If they're naming time after you, like, oh, he's on Smith time, you got a problem, right? So let's work on that, And by the way, on time is 15 minutes early.
Oh, I like you, Neil. I like it. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That's a great point. I do want to, before we get too far, I do want to get into the book. Like, what inspired you to write Bar Tips?
Well, mental health, number one, because I wrote it during COVID.
Okay.
And a guy who actually wrote the foreword in the book, Terry McMahon, and I were chatting one day, and because one of the things I would do during COVID to keep myself from losing my mind was reach out to people that, and it's also part of our positive activity process, a random reach out, someone you haven't heard from in a while. So if you send them a text, send them an email, write them a personal note. How are you? How's it going? It'll make you feel good. And invariably, especially during those times, I get a phone call back more often than not, because I don't want to intrude with a phone call, right? I prefer to it's, that's one great thing about it. There's a lot of good things about texting, a lot of stuff I don't like about texting. But one is just a quick little, hey, how you doing? Do you have a second? Those types of things. So Terry was one that called me back. And Terry was this wildly successful Mass Mutual general agent whose success took him to behaviors where he needed life-saving surgery. So I was speaking to him 18 months after his life-saving surgery. And he was talking about all the stuff that he's done since that happened. Now, do you know the movie Groundhog Day? Oh, of course you do. You're in Pittsburgh. Of course you do.
Yes.
Pizzatoni's right on the corner.
Yep, that's right.
And so I said, Terry, you're like Bill Murray in Groundhog Day. You're a jazz musician now. How did that happen? You wrote a book, you wrote a program, about your recovery, what? And he says, you should write a book. Okay, what am I going to write on? Now, I've got some interest. I've got some things. I mean, our next book will be more than likely about our journey in special needs, which I know we're going to touch upon in a little bit.
Yes, sir.
But I had done some writings, little ditties about times that I had in the bar business, and all, because it was emotional for me as I laid out my stellar collegiate career. I was a commuter student. There was no fraternities for Neil. My fraternity are the brothers and sisters I went to war with every Friday night in the bars. So to this day, we still hang out. We talk, we hang out. I was with I was with one of our waitress friends last Friday night at in Marblehead, Massachusetts. She was also in our wedding party.
Oh,
And
wow.
then tomorrow I'm going to be with a guy that lives right up the road here, and we get together all the time.
Wow.
So anyways, so I wrote about those things, and then I had also been to, and I had done some research because I did the research after I had this aha moment. The aha moment was when my wife and I were at a chamber event right on campus where we live now in New Hampshire. And it was a chamber event that was honoring our daughter. Our daughter is a brilliant marketer, and she was fastest to watch under the chamber. They've got an award for everything, right? So we went, and the guy who brought Five Guys burgers to New Hampshire was the keynote speaker.
Uh-huh.
Great speaker, nuts and bolts. He was my kind of guy. When you get the book and you read it, it's short sentence. It's big font. It's you're not gonna have to break out the see, I can't even say thesaurus, whatever. You're not gonna have to break it out. So anyways, he starts talking about, I don't know if you've ever worked in hospitality. Did you ever work as a server?
No, I do work with a lot of hospitality folks.
Oh, then you've probably heard about pre-meal, where they get the team together.
Yes.
Yeah, what's 86th? What's the special of the day? What did we do last year? What can we anticipate tonight? Is there a sporting event? Is there a concert? Whatever. We're going to get deluged with people. So it's all about that. And then there's usually a little bit of a fire and brimstone. Let's have a good night, And so he would say, folks, we're not in the burger business. We're not in the fry business. We're not in the soda business. We're not in the shake business. We're in the hospitality business. So I said, I looked to my wife was my partner in life and in business. And for a point of context, I met her when she was a food waitress at a place called Tia's in Boston. I was a bartender. And the most unlikely pairing on earth, I might add. And I just looked at her and said, I've never left the hospitality business. I've been bartending on the road for 30 plus years. It just hit me like a ton. I didn't do anything. I did do one thing with it. I did some research on how other businesses, and it's in the chapter called All Business is the Hospitality Business. And we did some research and found some other ways that a financial services company that uses hospitality to keep clients. A men's store in Atlanta, what they do. And so I had that piece. I had the stuff about the bar business. I had that piece. Then I started to put right down the concepts. I mean, things that I just started brain dumping on an artist pad. Mm-hmm. What are the most important things from the time somebody walks through the door to the time they leave and beyond. And I had the luxury of one of my favorite bartenders was he became a union guy. He was in the business. He behind the stick for 47 years, and he finished up at the Fairmount Copley in Boston, and he took full advantage of all of the fluff that was going on. He's getting paid unemployment. He's getting the double. He's the whole thing. And then he would do some work for me. So he was here painting, and we just talk. We'd talk about, the business, what they thought, blah blah blah, and so we came up with these concepts, and just then I kept on interview. I interviewed the woman who owned this place, Tia's, that I mentioned, where I met my wife, and we spent 2 hours on the phone. I was sitting right at this desk, right in the middle of COVID. And I talked to her, I saw her a number of times. We were friendly. I was a good worker for her. But we never talked for 2 hours in a row. And I got all of her philosophy, not just about as it relates to the bar business, but business in general, and about a woman doing business. And it was really fascinating. So it was really it was keeping me afloat in terms of meaning, having a meaningful life. And we were still, our business was still going fine.
Mm-hmm.
We were doing a lot in stuff that was related to the pandemic. But so she so that's kind of how it all put it all together. And then you start writing, and you edit, and you write, and you edit, you write, you edit. Oh, by the way, are we editing chapter 5 again, Lori? Yeah, we're editing chapter 5 again. Okay, here we go. Yeah. So
who should read your book?
The way I think, as I mentioned, I think anybody that may be a little down in where they are in their business, I think somebody just getting started, again, the middle of the road student that is just doesn't understand because they weren't classically academic intelligent, which I was not classically academic intelligent. To this day, I'm not academically intelligent. I read something, if I'm going to read it, if I'm going to understand it, I've got to read it, listen to it, and make notes. Mm-hmm. Then I've got a fighting chance. There's a book called by this guy, Howard Gardner. It's called The Frames of Mind. And he talks about the 7 types of intelligence. So yes, academic intelligence is one, but interpersonal intelligence is another. Intrapersonal intelligence, musical intelligence. Someone can be a crappy student and a wonderful musician. They are bright as heck. Mm-hmm. You don't become a musician. And I have all the respect in the world because I'm studying. I'm knee deep in my 65th year in still studying the piano for the probably the 50th year in a row. Not in a row. There's fits and starts, but yeah. And I just shake my head every time I leave there. I go, "You people know so much." So, anyways, it could be those. It could be someone like that for sure. Because I think they'll be uplifted by my story. It's not like this rags to riches routine, but it was humble beginnings to, I don't have a care in the world anymore, right? From financial standpoint. But it's also for someone that may be changing jobs. It's for somebody that maybe, if they're thinking about sales, mm-hmm. It could be for an engineer who is not adept at dealing with people. That's not their forte. Matter of fact, a friend of mine said, it's like he always comes up with these interesting quips. We're just standing around the kitchen in my house, and he goes, and I can't use the word he used, but he says, you know what? If the engineers could sell, we'd be, and I'll leave that blank. And I go, you know what? You're right. Yeah. But so I think they could learn something about. I think accountants. I think lawyers. I think it's all of them. That there's also, because there's a dip in there on humility. Taking ownership when a business problem arises. You gotta be humble. And those of us who might think they know everything, it's a tough gig for them. For me, I know I don't. It's very simple. Maybe I was the problem on this one. But it's a great lesson to be learned. And then, so those are the main people. I think it's a good, I'm not going to put myself in Dale Carnegie category. Please don't, or Napoleon Hill or any of the early, Zig Zig or any of that stuff. But I think it's a good reference tool. I think it's one you could go back to if you put it on your Audible, because guess what, folks? It's now available on all 3 forms. Yeah. Kindle, paperback, and Audible. In Audible, it's like 3 hours. Mm-hmm. Most of the books you get on Audible, it's 8. Okay, there's a commitment. 3, that's that you listen to that a few times before you go to bed. And if you like a chapter, I was listening again this morning to Be the Bartender again, and I was like, wow, I'm proud of it. I'm proud of it. I think it really came out great, and I had one guy just tell me, he's kind of a wise guy too. he said, and of course, his first comment was, "Hey, I got your book. I read it. Where's the chapter about me?" So there's his wise guy comment. There it is. He goes, "I think this book could change lives." Now, did I say that? No, he said it. So it was like, okay, I'll go with that. It was a good day when somebody pops up with one of those.
Yeah, that's great. So I want to get in before we let you get off here. I want to get into this thing that you created with your wife, that you started PACE, PASE. It's Parents Assisting Special Educators. Can you tell us about that? Because that sounds pretty interesting. And
love to.
And just the why behind it, please.
So we were, like many families, subject to a devastating blow on our second child at the age of about 18 to 24 months, started to disappear on us. Wasn't making eye contact. You weren't, what 2-year-old kid doesn't want a hug? Wanted nothing to do with that. So we knew there was something wrong. And so cut to the chase, he was diagnosed with, they called it PDD. And I'm looking at it, I'm reading about it. Oh, you mean he's got autism, right? So it's like, I don't even know why they shroud it in secrecy. But so we dove in. I mean, we're entrepreneurs, we're business people, we're make it happen people. All right, how are we gonna right this ship? And it was a challenge because he's one of the, I mean, in this wave, which has been really strong, he was an early in. He's 30. He's now 32. Got some very exciting news that we'll share in a second. But so he's a non-speaking autistic, and we were trying to find ways to get involved. And frankly, I wasn't really thrilled with the national organizations and the awareness routine, because we are fully aware of what's going on. Now, I appreciate somebody else doing that stuff, but that's not where I want to put my time and efforts. What functionally can we do that can affect these kids' lives? And so we decided it was education, because the education system, although there's a right to that everybody has an equal education, the reality is not the money there. And it becomes this awful relationship between the parent and the system. And it's just no fun. So we decided, and this is where our first real swing, I shouldn't say my first, because I did it in sales early on. But when we wanted to take a positive, proactive approach. So we founded PACE, Parents Assisting Special Educators. And the rule to be involved with us is that you left all your grievances at the door. We're here to make things happen. We're here to participate, and we're here to help, right? So we're gonna get some benefits from this. We're gonna feel good about it. We're also gonna help the people that are trying to help our kids. And in the end, it was an incredible, I hate to use the hackneyed phrase win-win, but it really was. I mean, so we garnered a lot of support. We showed them things that they don't see. Again, before, as I mentioned, we see things as entrepreneurial salespeople that people that are in health and human services and special needs education don't see. And no, we can't. How are we going to do that? Well, here's how we're going to do it. And then you go do it. It's like, oh, well, you're really good at that. Well, yeah, kind of what we do. So, but yeah, and so it was just a very effective thing. Did it cure anybody? No. Did it make it better? Yes, it made the system better, and the teachers felt like they had an ally. That was probably the greatest thing. And they used to the paraprofessionals, the ones that work one-on-one. One of the things that we did, we would pay them to go to meetings, because they weren't paid to go to meetings, right, like preschool meetings.
Right.
We'd pay them. So that was one of our biggest things that we did. And of course, everybody was thrilled with it. So, and then when I'm putting air quotes for everybody, that when he graduated from the system at 21, well, it becomes then you're really in the abyss.
Yes.
Because there's really nothing set up. So we started the first of its kind special needs classroom so this was the Pace After 21 thing, which we wound up disbanding, and just we partnered with the Health and Human Service Organization and it's the college. And after a lot of debate with the executive director, who was a friend of mine of the Health and Human Service Organization, about schools and it's going to turn into, an institution. It's like, whoa, dude, what are you saying? We just want to continue on what's been going on.
Right.
We don't want to, they're not going to go live together and what, he's going to come home. He's going to do all that thing, all that stuff. And, all these things weren't without, but then he says, well, where are we going to do it? We can do it here. So after waiting for him to do it, I just picked up the phone as a sales guy would and called the Nashua Community College. And I asked for the office of the president. And lo and behold, the woman that answered the phone as her assistant, my old neighbor.
Ah.
And on top, so she set up the meeting. I go in, I talk to Lucille Jordan, lovely woman, visionary. And next thing you know, she confesses grandson with autism.
Wow.
So we're all hugging and crying. And here's your classroom, Neil. So that has been in operation now for, Craig's 32, 11 years. And I believe it's up to about 50 kids in the program. And Craig, Craig was a student body of one for about 6 months. And then now it's this program. So, but the interesting thing is, so that's why, I'm willing to tell anybody that will listen about it. Nobody else came to me. I mean, there's other community colleges we could have talked to.
Mm-hmm.
But, for me, it was like, I'm here for you, but I'm not cold calling you to find you. I mean, so
yeah.
So that was and the greatest, I think I mentioned this to you off air, the greatest compliment I've received on the book so far, although I kind of like the one that says it could change lives, was a friend of mine that said to me this summer, he says, Neil, I really like your book. And is that how you did the other stuff too? I said, yeah. I show up. I'm on time. I'm organized. I'm nice to people. I take care of them. So yeah, it's exactly what it was.
That's fantastic, Neil. I'd really like to have you back and dig into that a little bit more and what all you're doing there. That's actually my background. Was before I got into business, working with business and things like that. And
in special needs?
Yeah, I was.
Oh, no kidding.
I'm a licensed social worker. Still hold my license in the state of Pennsylvania. I'd worked in a lot of the residentials, worked with a lot of
oh, God bless you.
The autistic, at that point in time, the PDD, those tended to be the tougher kids. And that was a great challenge for me. And my daughter has taken that on as well. She is a special educator. She's in 6th grade special education for the past 2 years. She just graduated college a couple years ago, and that is what she is currently.
Do we have another moment or two?
Absolutely, sir. Yeah.
Well, then I would advise your daughter, or maybe dad could do it for her right now, to go to Amazon and buy the book Underestimated. Underestimated is the journey of J.B. Hanley and his son Jamie through this program called Spelling to Communicate. Our guys that are non-speaking autistics, which are about 30%, have what is called praxia, where it affects your front motor cortex. And they're not firing to all your fine motor skills. So you're not getting the signals to your mouth, your tongue, your hands for handwriting. Guess what you have? Gross motor skills. You can point. So what we do is we treat them like at the age group, like the age they are. There's no more Craigies. It's Craig. He's intelligent. We presume competence. And then you read him an age-appropriate lesson. So, as an example, a few weeks ago, I read him a lesson on cells. So included in that is, molecules, DNA, that and the like. And then in the end, they prescribe questions to ask. Usually you spell a couple of things. He spells a couple of things. And by the way, the board, he points to it on a stencil board. Mm-hmm. And it uses what we use like a chop. We get chopsticks, and he gets so you know which letter he's pushing because he gets to go through it. And so we then ask those, spell this. That usually is a warm up, spelling something just to spell, and then you ask him questions that are in the body of the story, and then you ask him what is known as prior knowledge. We have no idea how he knows it, but it's prior knowledge. So we asked him the other day. So they asked him, so spell molecules. He spells molecules. Spell this. He spells that. Then I look at I've got this woman is, she's an actual practitioner. So I'm learning. My wife is way ahead of me. She's about a year in, 2 months in. And I look at her and I go, give her the nod. Can I ask him? She goes, oh, yeah, go ahead. Craig, what does the acronym DNA mean? He spells it out. Ugh. Isn't that frightening? It's wild. Wild. There's a picture on another lesson. Don't even know why it was there, but the picture is of Muhammad Ali. So there you go again. Now he's not even mentioned in the story. There's nothing about boxing. I don't even know why it was. I can't remember why it was there. So I looked at Beth. Can I ask him? She goes, go ahead. Craig, who's that in the picture? Muhammad Ali. Oh, Eric, it gets better. What's the next logical question you'd ask him?
Well, how did he know? I mean,
actually, I'll give you one on that. But the question I asked him was, what's his real name?
Oh, wow. No, really?
Cassius Clay.
Cassius Clay. He knew it.
So back to how he knows how he knew something. Yeah. So we asked him one morning. Lori was down there, and I was with her, and somehow I don't even know how she got on the question. Craig, what's your favorite language? Spells out Spanish. Okay, Craig, what does muchas gracias mean? Thank you very much. How do you know that? I heard it. Where'd you hear it? In the car. With who? Marilyn. Guess who Marilyn is? His provider, who is bilingual.
Wow.
And she used to listen to Spanish radio.
That's great.
And on top of it, cherry on top, he tells my wife he's telepathic.
We should have just talked about this.
Oh, I should have you if you can have Lori. Lori would be much better to have on that. I can
okay
into the comic relief, but yeah. She's actually at a conference right now. She actually sent a text this morning. She said something about crying because she started the conference today. She goes, I'm listening and I'm trying not to cry.
Oh, wow.
The stories are staggering. There's a woman, Elizabeth Bonker. She's a speller. They call them spellers. Uh-huh. She gave she was the valedictorian at Rollins College and gave the commencement speech. She did it on a keyboard because the goal is the end game is to move from there's a 3-letter board, then there's 26, there's three boards with the 26 letters, then there's the 26-letter board, and then eventually there's a flat board where you just touch it, and then in the end you want the keyboard, And Craig's goal, his stated goal, not ours,
Mm-hmm.
is to be on the Keeble. So, but now we're in the process. So again, so how do we take bar tips and things learned in the hospitality business and make this better? Guess what? They came out with a documentary. Right down this road here in Plymouth, Mass, we had 200 people at the showing. In Nashua, New Hampshire, we had 200 people. We had a panel discussion. You could hear a pin drop. Nobody moved afterwards either. Everybody stayed for the panel discussion. Typically somebody's got to go. I've had enough of this. Whatever. Oh no, they all stayed. Questions. And actually the funniest thing about the stumbling upon this, some things are just dumb luck. A woman that I ride bikes with in New Hampshire, she knows I have Craig. She's got a nephew with autism. She comes up to me and she says, she's really forceful. I mean, she's a lovely woman. She goes, Neil, have you read Underestimated? No, what is it? Neil, it's an autism miracle. Okay. The last thing a guy who's been in the autism world for about 30 years wants to hear? That there's another flipping miracle. Because that's another bad road, tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars, disappointment. So out of respect for her, I bought the book, put it on the coffee table, told my wife about it. Equally as turned off about the tagline, never opened it up. She's visiting with a doctor in our hometown she's a holistic functional doctor, right? So looks outside the box.
Mm-hmm.
And says the first thing we used her before, I forget, she moved away and now she's back in the area. First thing out of her mouth, you've read Underestimated, haven't you? Lori goes, no, but I'm gonna. I will tell you this, and tell your daughter this, I mean this wholeheartedly. If she's going to read it, and I hope she does, and we're happy to discuss anything she wants to discuss about it, don't do it in public. Don't do it in public. Because you're gonna cry. I brought it to my favorite breakfast place down the street, and I said, whoa, there was a mistake. Put that aside. Nobody wants to see a 64-year-old man crying his omelet.
Oh, I'm glad we went down that route, Neil. It would be great to either have you or your wife back on, because that is something that is near and dear to our hearts here as a whole company and a family. So thanks for sharing that. Really appreciate it. Really appreciate it.
Happy to do it. Bring your daughter on with us too.
Yeah.
Make it a family affair.
We're going to have to wrap things up, Neil, but I think what I have here, right, of how people get in touch with you, positiveactivity.net, is that correct?
Yeah, that's where you'll find the direct link to the book. We're hoping, I'm not sure, when will this air, Eric?
Probably in December.
Okay, so it's immaterial. We're shooting for a big blitz right now. If you've got a network and your social, Cam can send you some stuff. I turn 65 next Thursday, so we've kind of made this, and all three versions of the book are out. So we're because the audio just came available, so I waited to that to like really get to the influencers and see if we can drive bestseller status. So
yeah, happy to help.
So when you send over your address, maybe just think, and you're going to ask Cam for ask him for, because we've got pre-scripted stuff for you too, that he can send you the copy.
Happy to send it out to folks. Yeah. Appreciate it. Appreciate you having you on. Hopefully we can have you back and talk more. I certainly enjoyed it. I know this is going to be valuable to people that are watching and listening. And, that's all for today, folks. We really appreciate you tuning in, listening, and or watching, or both. If you'd like more information from us, you can get us at centerforvictory.com. If you If you didn't get that, that's positiveactivity.net to get in touch with Neil, or I'd be happy to put you in touch with him as well. And just remember, wherever you're at, whatever you're doing, make this your best day yet. We'll see you soon.
See you guys.